1920. World War I was over. The boys were back home. Democracy had prevailed over the forces of evil, and it was time to get back to the business of life in America. There were many changes in America in 1920. In this new decade, the world had become modern. Telephones, automobiles, radio, jazz, movies, and the promise of ever greater prosperity. Into this booming economy and this national euphoria, Dennard Miller was born. Dennard was born on March the 10th of 1920, the youngest of three sons of Avis and Goodwin Miller in Gordon, Georgia, in nearby Wilkinson County. Dennard grew up in Gordon and he attended school there. At Gordon High School, Dennard played basketball and came to know some of his lifelong friends in Temple and Sandersville because he played basketball against them in the late 1930s. We all know what was happening in America in the 1930s. The stock market had crashed. America was in the midst of a Great Depression. Times were very hard. By the mid-30s, the economy had improved somewhat, but jobs were still hard to come by. And Dennard started looking for work even before graduating from high school. He wanted to work at the local kaolin plant, P.W. Martin Clays in Gordon, and he was both optimistic and persistent. Malcolm Burgess of Burgess Pigment Company in Macon was the owner-manager of the Martin plant in Gordon at that time, and Mr. Burgess drove from Macon to Gordon each day to work. And each day, when he got there, he found young Dennard Miller waiting to see him, asking him for a job. After several weeks, Dennard's persistence paid off. Mr. Burgess did recommend him to the plant supervisor, and Dennard had his first job. This was 1937, the same year that the jet engine was developed. But Dennard had little time for interest in jet engines. He needed to work, and here he was, working at the kaolin plant. He started out, as many of you in this audience did, he started out doing the manual labor of dressing presses and sweeping out boxcars. Dennard spent his next 48 years working in the kaolin industry. In 1939, Dennard met the lovely Hazel Mugridge when she came to Gordon to teach school. They courted for several years and were married in 1941. While living in Gordon, they had two sons, John and Jerry. In 1945, Malcolm Burgess founded a new clay company, Burgess Washington Clays in Sandersville, and he asked several of his employees at the Gordon plant to move with him to Washington County to establish this new plant. This is how Hazel and Dennard came to move to Temple. Dennard came in 1945, and Hazel and the boys joined him the following year. Hazel taught English at Temple High School for many years and was a beloved teacher to many of the Temple teenagers of my generation. In 1947, Paul Field bought out Burgess Washington Clay Company in Sandersville and renamed the plant Field Kaolin. Through the years, Dennard's diligence and his hard work at Field Kaolin was rewarded, and a number of promotions followed. Before his retirement in 1985, Dennard was named president of Field Kaolin Company. Back in 1946, when the Miller family settled in Temple on Main Street in what we call the Smith House, they joined the Temple Methodist Church, and Dennard has remained a member of this church since that day. That's 64 years of faithful service. During these years, Dennard Miller has served this church in many ways, most notably as an adult Sunday school teacher and as treasurer of this church. He remains one of the great benefactors today. And Dennard's family acknowledges that in return, Temple Methodist Church has been Dennard's rock. Upon retirement in 1985, Hazel and Dennard bought a house in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and they spent their summers there. Dennard, in his characteristic good humor, said that he always wanted a place in the summer that was north of the net line. But they always came home to Temple in the winter months. In the year 2000, health reasons made it necessary for Hazel and Dennard to move to Savannah. After Hazel's death, Dennard continues to live at Savannah Square Retirement Community, so as to be near Margaret and Jerry. But as Jerry tells it, he and Margaret need Dennard to look after them. Dennard Miller has always been beloved by many people. The people who work with him in the kaolin industry, and we're so glad so many of you are here this morning. All of you hold him in great esteem. Perhaps it was his own humble beginnings as a worker that endeared him to the hard-working young men of the kaolin plants. But whatever the reason, he was greatly respected as a businessman, and he continues to be loved and missed by the Theo Kaolin family of workers. They tell many stories, some I can't repeat here, about Dennard's sense of humor, and above all, his wonderful kindness and his fair treatment to all people. So here we are today, Dennard, in the year 2010, in a world that is quite different from the year of your birth. We live in a world where wars are not over, democracy is very fragile, in a world where jet engines are now commonplace, but sadly where good old hard-working boys like you are at a premium. But thankfully, this is still a world where God is in charge and where we can trust in His goodness and appreciate the special opportunities that He gives us to honor those of you who have been so faithful over the years. So we are here to honor you, Dennard, on this your 90th birthday. We celebrate your life, the 90 years which have brought you business success as well as personal satisfaction. You are a very dear person. You and your family will always hold a special place in the hearts of the people of Tennell, and especially to members of this church. Amen. We are so delighted that you are here with us today and that your family is allowing our church to celebrate with you on this momentous occasion. With our love and appreciation to you, we wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hey, Dennard, it's good to see you here today. As an expression of our love for you and what you have meant to this church, the Tennell United Methodist Women have made a gift to missions in your honor, and I have a card here for you to keep and treasure and remember this evening.
We will now sing hymn number 380. There's within my heart a melody. Hymn number 380. We will sing verses 1 and 4. Please stand as you are able.